See, positioning is the Dennis Rodman of your brand strategy. It defends your brand from the cookie cutter competition, at the same time has a unique flavor that stands out. Somewhere along the road to information age, we've taken a detour to a place I like to call the digital marketing hellhole. You know, that place where all brands look and feel the same because they're using the same kind of headline templates or templates for their Instagram stories and messaging, and the same kind of content is getting produced. And hence, the same kind of templatized brands are coming out. And almost everything that we're doing in the name of content marketing and targeted advertising is creating more kids with ADD. And no, this is not a public service announcement, but I bet you agree with me that scrolling through your social feed, LinkedIn or Instagram, you are going through the same kind of brands, and it's as cringeworthy as LinkedIn's user interface. I love you, LinkedIn. I'm kidding. My point is that while using all these best case practices to create content and to advertise is great, but at the same time, we also have to build a very differentiated brand offering. And that is what we're going to talk about today: how to build positioning. In other words, how to build a formidable differentiation strategy for your brand. In his 1980s game-changing book, Ries introduced the concept of brand positioning. And every year since then, this concept has made more sense. See, positioning is the Dennis Rodman of your brand strategy. It defends your brand from the cookie cutter competition, at the same time has a unique flavor that stands out. You see, products and services can no longer be just sold on value. What you are offering, a lot of people are offering that, using the same kind of copy templates, the same photography, the same kind of Instagram strategy, or maybe the same digital marketing agencies as well. And you need to stand out from that crowd and create a very differentiated offering for your customers. Now let's talk about how you're going to do that. Positioning is really a two-part system. First, what is communicated, and second, what is understood. Effective communication is not just about writing a stellar copy, but having or creating an impactful customer memory. And that's what counts ultimately. How does your customer remember your brand? You can have the best photos or visuals, but if the customer is not going to remember what you sell or what your USPs are, then your communication is failing. And creating that amazing customer memory today is magic. And in this attention-deprived world, brand communication that sticks is almost as valuable as finding something to watch on Netflix after a long days of Zoom calls. I digress. But we are so focused with our brand communication that we often forget to create a clearly distinguishable communication strategy using an outside-in framework to how our brand is actually perceived by the customer. And once you develop this outside-in framework to really look at on what the customers are decoding by your messaging, what you can do with that is create or figure out a gap that the customer may have in their mind about a particular product or service that you may be selling. So to summarize, effective position is a delicate dance between a differentiated communication that you're going to have to impact the gap in the customer's mind. You get these two things right, and you have nailed positioning. So we often use this positioning chart to map out our company and define the competitors, right? Oldest trick in the book. And I know all of you guys must have done that, taken two parameters, say category and price, and put your company or brand name onto that and all the other competitors around it, right? We've all done that. So why the hell did I make this video? That doesn't work anymore. That's why. Picking two generic parameters to define your company is not an effective strategy anymore. You have to get more creative than that. And let's talk about that. You have to really realize that for you to create a differentiation, you may want to design a perfectly new subcategory or creatively define where your company sits and what your messaging is going to be. And let's take an example of this. I have a great one. Now, we all know this little company based in Oregon called Nike and how it has one of the strongest positionings as far as performance shoe brands worn by the biggest athletes in the world is concerned. But today I want to talk about another footwear company that has a stronger brand positioning than Nike. It's called Birkenstock. So Birkenstock, that started in 1774 in Germany, was the first company that created contoured insoles. And for 200 plus years, they stuck to their guns to create these very elegant cork and leather sandals that were worn by Europeans as far as the summer sandals is concerned or on vacations. And the company really defined what they did. And every time you thought about sandals or premium sandals, all you thought was Birkenstock in Europe. In 2012, the company hit mainstream fame when one of the British designers took the sandals to high runway fashion on Paris Fashion Week and combined their simple cork sandals with mink. And since that time of mainstream discovery on Paris Fashion Week, they have tripled their sales. And this actually happened when they did not have a sales and marketing department or a PR department, and was totally based on the strong positioning that the brand had on creating these elegant, premium looking sandals. Now, if you were to come up with the sandals brand, if I were to come up with the sandals brand, I would never be able to kind of define that niche. And this is what the beauty of this story is. And I think when brands get really, really creative in defining their niche and going really, really strongly after that, they end up creating a very strong positioning for themselves. And this is the story that we all need to know about Birkenstock and how they kind of exploited this gap of premium sandals. The sandals today are worn by Hollywood luxury to sportsmen to everyone. It's everywhere. Each pair of sandals today costs more than $100, guys. And still there's so much demand for Birkenstock that they are behind the supply because they're making those sandals in the same way that they did 200 years ago in the same German factory by hand. And if that's not great brand positioning and strategy, then I don't know what is. And the last thing I want to mention is about positioning. It's also what not to do. Another small story about Birkenstock is that they did try to do boots, but they just weren't successful at it because all customers that they had always associated sandals with Birkenstock, not boots, right? So it's also very important that we not do some of the things to take a better or a stronger brand positioning. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'm constantly trying to improve, so please give me some feedback or engage with this content in any way you want. Happy to listen to you and all your thoughts. Thank you for watching. This is Piyush Suri and this is Be The Brand.